Welcome to Alert Tales, where we dive deep into the most gripping stories of real-life experiences. If you love tales that evoke emotion, spark conversation, and connect us all, you're in the right place. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join our community for more captivating stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat.
Crying over a bunch of children's books. I grew up poor, really poor. My mother was a single mother and struggled for money. When I was a teenager, I asked her why she never put £1 a week away for us when we were kids, so we would have a little pot for when we were older. She said because that £1 would need to be used to buy the milk, the bread, or the bus fare for her to get to work. She didn't have a spare pound to put aside for us.
One hobby I would always encourage and allowed my children to indulge in was reading. If there was a book they wanted, I would always try to find the money to get it for them.
When I was young, I loved the Mr. Men books and had a few from the collection. Now, for those that do not know, on the spine of each Mr. Men book is a little black mark that when all the books are put together, spells out, My Mr. Men Library. When I was a kid, I dreamed that one day I would have every book in the collection to be able to see this spelled out. Every time I saw a Mr. Men book, I would ask my mum if I could get it, and sometimes she said yes, other times she would say not today. I never managed to get every book. I didn't even get close. Today I had a parcel delivered. It is the complete collection of the Mr. Men books. I opened the box and there staring me in the face is the spine of each book and the black writing that spells out, My Mr. Men Library. I began to cry. I bought them for my son, who is currently 7 weeks old, to read these books with him and share the enjoyment that I got out of them many moons ago. I cry for the little girl inside me who dreamt of this day. I cry for the woman who doesn't have to scrimp and save to be able to buy her child the next Mr. Men book. She can buy the full collection all at once. I didn't stop there. I also bought the complete collections of Kipper, Winnie the Pooh, and Dr. Seuss. All books I loved as a kid. I'm not a wealthy person by any means, but I have the complete Mr. Men collection, Rich, and that means the world to me. My ex is in jail for showing my boss my N*** Des backstory. I, 16 at the time, dated Mike, who was 21 at the time. Before you come at me saying that's illegal, I know I was a dumb kid, and if you think that's bad, just wait. We ended on good terms and remained close friends after. During our time together, we had shared intimate photos with each other, photos I'd never have imagined would resurface, and especially not to my boss. When I turned 18, I started this job I'm still at, that had a boss who was known for being a womanizer and would say the most out-of-pocket things to his young female employees. My ex was also working here at the time. Weird boss Alan took an interest in me right away. I was a little doe-eyed 18-year-old. Alan would make special trips to come visit with me. I reported him to HR many times for the things he'd say.
Alan talked me into showing him your nudes. He has been asking about you for some time now and thought that giving him what he wanted would put me in the good books.
Mike worked pretty closely with Alan, and somehow Alan talked him into showing my nudes to him. Now, if you were paying attention, I was 16 years old at the time of the photos. This is important for later. Alan, on one of his special visits, had mentioned a tattoo that you'd never know I have, unless you somehow saw me nude or were told about it. It took me a couple of weeks before I had an hey moment. I asked Mike if he still has intimate photos from when we were together, and he said he isn't sure if he deleted them, which means he definitely still has them. So I straight up accused him of showing Alan. And he admitted to it. I lost it. I called my work's HR and they removed Alan and Mike immediately pending investigation, and were shortly after both terminated. I didn't stop there though. Remember when I said me being 16 was important? I went to the police about Mike's actions. Mike was charged with having as well as distributing child pornography. It's been a few years since this began, but the legal battle is finally over and I can share my story. Mike's in a jail cell, Alan's in divorce court, and I'm doing well. Hope it was worth it.
I don't get why the girl best friend cliché exists. So, I am a girl best friend to a guy. We've been friends since we were 18 and we are very important to each other. We helped each other through hardships in some of the hardest times of our lives, and enjoyed our friendship through some of the bests. Since I'm a very friend-oriented person, most of my partners over the years have wondered about him in the beginning, before most of them ended up also being friends with him. We never wanted to date, him and I. At this point, we are in the cliché, right? So for a couple of years, he's been dating a girl. She comes from the same social circles as us, so I was friends with her before. Well, it still was hard in the beginning when he had less time. I got very scared to lose him. We talked about it, we found a compromise, but at no point did I blame her. First reason why I don't understand the cliché. If a friend drops you completely when they are dating, it's not their partner's fault if they're being a bad friend. I got lucky, it wasn't the case for me. We still spend a lot of time together, but from every week it dropped to every other week. He still had time for me, but just less time. Then I got used to it. Plus, maybe it has nothing to do with his relationship? Maybe we're changing? Maybe we're adults and have less time now. But the second reason why I don't understand the cliché, I realized recently when I invited both of them to an event, and I said to someone I invited my best friends, and I had the neurodivergent urge to clarify that it was my best friend and his girlfriend. But I stopped myself because it made no sense. I've come to realize she had become one of my best friends too. I can fully count on her, and she's funny as hell. I'm not sure we would have become that close if they weren't dating. Conclusion. If a friend loves a person so much, maybe they could become a very strong friend for you too. I am blessed to have both of them.
Just found out my dad essayed his little sister until he was 21. I'm in complete shock and feel like my life is a lie. My dad has a sister, let's call her Aunt A, 10 years younger than him. I found out today that he essayed her from age 15 to 21, making her 5 to 11 years old at the time. It ended because he left on a religious mission. A few years later, my parents meet, get married, start having kids. They have my older brother and older sister by the time Aunt A tells her mom he essayed her. Aunt A and her mom have an intervention for my mom. They told her everything that happened to her and urged her to leave my dad to protect the kids. My dad somehow turned that situation around and got mad at my mom for not defending him. They end up staying together and even having 2 more kids, my younger brother and I. Fast forward to when I'm around 8 years old, we have CPS show up to our house because someone suspected my sister and I were being sexually abused by my dad. To this day, all 4 of my siblings and I cannot recall ever being inappropriately touched by him. My sister now has an 11-year-old daughter, and they live with my parents. My niece denies ever being touched inappropriately, but still wets the bed and experiences frequent derealization, signs of abuse. I keep wanting to believe that Aunt A was my dad's only victim, that he was young and has changed since then. But I don't know how likely that is. I want to tell my husband, but I'm not sure if I should. I don't know what to do or think. It was so long ago, but technically my dad should have gone to prison. Sorry if this story is scrambled or doesn't make sense. My head is spinning. Edit for more info. I am going to tell my husband today. I just found this out yesterday. My sister lives with my parents because she had to get away from her abusive husband and had nowhere else to go. We are now trying to figure out how to get her and her daughter out of their house, but have very little resources, and I live out of state.
My girlfriend's half-brother is a creep. There have been some signs leading up to this point at which I feel I need to do something about it. Before this point, we found her underwear stained with cum in her room. I didn't ask if it was the first time, but I assume it wasn't. Recently, we had been studying together and the topic came up when we had been going through some photos on her laptop. Since your brother uses this laptop too, are you scared he'll see the nudes you leave in the photos? She paused and told me that sometimes when she gets the computer back from him, her nudes are open on the screen. She told me it's happened twice. At this point, I decided to delete the photos and videos and ask her how she felt and if she would do anything about that. She said she didn't know and she's non-confrontational. Later that night, I was getting the itch to look further, and I found that in the downloads there was a recent download of that video to where I don't know exactly. I suspect he may have sent it to himself. I want to confront the guy and ask him what he's done with her laptop to come clean and get out of the house.